you have enjoyed a delicious Thanksgiving meal while CF Montreal learned the identity of their playoff opponent finally. Also, on tonight's episode, the Canadian women's national team enjoyed another friendly win. The format of the League's Cup was announced, and much more, as always, on episode 103 of The Ball is Round. Good evening, Hady.
Hello, how are you, Eve?
Oh my goodness. Whew. It was a wild decision day in MLS. Have you caught your breath?
Yeah, it's always wild. Decision day in
Yeah.
MLS, like every year it's something crazier and crazier and crazier. And this year it's been exactly the same. Not for CF Montreal, thank God, but for the rest of the teams.
Right, I know. And it's obviously, it wrapped up just a little while ago this afternoon for the Eastern Conference teams. And of course, the matches are still being played for the Western Conference teams. But we certainly know at least how our side of the bracket is shaping up.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. But we're going to be able to maybe at the end of the show, we'll take a look at the results in the West and,
yeah.
complete the bracket if you want to, if we have a bit of time, of course.
Oh, yeah. Sounds good. But anyway, we definitely have a super packed show this evening, so let's hop into it. So, CF Montreal traveled to face Inter Miami for the final match of the regular season, not knowing, of course, who would be their opponent next week for the first match of the playoffs. Meanwhile, Miami did manage to book their own spot midweek after they dismantled Orlando City SC. So actually, there was a lot going on well before the match. In the media availability during the week, Victor Wanyama announced that he would not be returning next season. And this news has generated a lot of reaction amongst supporters, as of course it would. And we actually got several listener questions on this particular subject. So before we dive into the match, let's go ahead and break down that news with our question. If you want to start first with Robbie's.
Yeah, of course.
So we're just going to deal with Robbie's first question to start. So the question is, any chance the club and Wanyama come to a deal, or is this really the end after this season?
Honestly, Vincent Detouche just talked about it in the broadcast, saying that unfortunately, the two parties are really, really too far off from each other. So I don't think it's going to happen. And again, Victor Wanyama is no spring chicken, right? He's a player that's really known, worldwide and everything. So I'm pretty sure he's going to find another contract that suits him. So I doubt it very much that we'll see an agreement, unless Montreal changes their mind and really proposes another contract similar to the one that he has right now, which I doubt will happen. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Just I don't know how else to add. I agree. No, exactly.
Wow. Eve is speechless, guys. I think I can sleep very
No, I'm
very
not
well
speechless.
tonight.
I just have nothing to add. Big difference. Alrighty. Let's hop on to Joe Zaro's question.
Yeah, for sure.
We have a question from Joe Zaro who says, which player's absence will hurt the team more? I assume Joe is referring to next year.
Yeah.
So Mihailovic or Wanyama, if hypothetically they don't replace or they didn't replace them.
I'll let you start this time.
That's actually it's difficult to say, but honestly, I do think Wanyama's absence will hurt more. His ball winning capability. We do have, of course, Sam Piet, who can win a ball for sure. But the ability that Wanyama has to protect the ball after winning it in some of those dangerous spots with his physicality is something unique to him, as well as we're going to talk about it was his passing abilities. We're going to talk about that later on when we discuss the match. And as well, just his ability to really body, opposition players. Like, he's not somebody as well who's going to get pushed around. And usually, oftentimes when he gets fouled, it doesn't take much for the ref to give a yellow card to the opponent. So, those are all kind of unique, I think, characteristics about him.
You know what? Again, I must specify that it's a very hard question. Again, like Yves said, I think both players are really amazing and have been amazing for Montreal. Since they joined the club, right? So for me, both are going to be very important, and we're going to miss them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. If they're not replaced, of course. But I will go. I will choose exactly the same player as Yves. Victor Wanyama. You talked about him. Protecting the ball. Him recuperating the ball, but not only that, the way he is the one directing the play. He's the one that dictates the tempo. He's the one that knows when Montreal has to move faster or has to move slower. He's the one that really, he's the main guy in Wilfried Nancy's system. It's as simple as that. So, Georgi Mihailovic is a very important offensively, of course, and he's going to be a big miss for sure. But, offensive players that play that role, Montreal can find a way to replace Georgie, but not like individually, but maybe, collective of players, 2-3 players that can replace Georgie's productivity. And that's where, for me, Victor Wanyama is irreplaceable. There's nobody that can play exactly the same way as he plays. Even if Sam Piet will take care of all the defensive responsibilities for sure, but the dictating, it's not, Sam Piet's fortes.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, for me, I agree with you, Yves. 100% Victor Wanyama.
Right on. Okay, cool. Let's move on to Simple Guy's question on the topic.
Yeah, so simple guy. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think I kind of like Simple Guy. Simple Guy's kind of tried to answer his own question, I think. So anyway, if Wanyama leaves, will Piet replace him? In Simple Guy's opinion, ball recovery, Piet is superior to Wanyama. Passing, Wanyama is superior to Piet. And most importantly, retaining the ball under pressure, Wanyama is superior to Piet. I mean, they are different players. Like they have different strengths and different weaknesses. So I think, like, positionally, so to speak, then yeah, Piet would be the most obvious replacement. But again, it's a question kind of what the collective around, say, hypothetically, Sam Piet looks like, or around the mystery Wanyama replacement looks like. So I think I struggle to answer that question a lot, but they're different players. So, like, Sam Piet can't just slot in and become Victor Wanyama.
Yeah, but if you have, where I don't agree with Simple Guy, if you do, a very simplistic comparison by saying who's better, I agree. Of course, Victor Wanyama is better than Sam Piet. No questions there. But you have to look at the system altogether. If you're playing with a number 6 and a number 8, do you really need the number 6 to do that much if your number 8 is good enough? Right now, we don't have a number 8 that's good enough. But if you're, let's say, instead of replacing Wanyama, you buy a number 8 that's, I'm not going to say world class, but elite, okay? You get that great number 8. I think you're okay not having Wanyama, because you're going to have Piet and that number 8 that's going to take all the offensive responsibilities that Wanyama had. And maybe dictating the tempo and everything that Wanyama had. So for me, it's not as simplistic as just comparing Wanyama to Piet. It's really an ensemble of things.
Exactly. It's the collective around them.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, no. So yeah, it's going to be a big difference, a big. It's going to be a big loss for sure, but like, is he irreplaceable as like in the market? No, he's not. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be replaced. And the whole idea behind it, and Olivier Renard said it at one point: do we want to spend that much on this position? So that means that he wants to spend that much maybe on another position, or maybe spend a bit less, but on 2 other positions. So that's something to look into, and hopefully we'll have some answers in the next few months.
Exactly. Alrighty, and moving on to Alain's question, which is similar.
It's much broader. It
is broader, yeah. Will this offseason bring one of the biggest turnover of starters ever? I kind of feel like I'm inclined to say yes.
I'm
It's
not really.
gonna be big.
It's going to be big, but is it the biggest? No. You
Oh,
remember when Remy Gard came? I think we had like 15 players coming in there or something. It
mm,
was crazy. It was a whole new team. We didn't know anybody anymore.
no, that's a good point. But like as far as I think I think what interests me the most is like the departures, is what I'm thinking of mainly. And
Yeah.
you are right that definitely that year does come to mind as kind of memorable, as far as so many players coming and going. But for this one, I think it's going to be like more remarkable because it's players who are leaving, like not just because their contracts up in Montreal chose not to renew it or extend it.
Yeah.
It's players who are leaving and moving on to bigger things. So I think it's going to be more notable in that regard.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not really sure because, like, it's all rumors, right? Kone, it's rumors. Miller, Johnston, we don't know if those players are going to leave.
True.
The only players that we know are going to leave, first of all, is Victor Wanyama because, it's Montreal choice
Yeah.
not to extend his contract. And the other one is Georgi Mihailovic. That's
Mm-hmm.
the two guarantees that we have.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on the World Cup. Like,
Largely.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I don't think that we're going to see, everybody leave, like Miller and Johnston and everything, because Olivier Renard is not stupid. Joey Saputo is not stupid either. So I'm pretty sure if they don't want every player to leave at the same time, I'll be very
That would
surprised if that's the
be
case.
that would be a lot because I mean you'd basically be starting your project from scratch again.
Exactly. And that's not what you want. That's not at
Mm-hmm.
all what you want. And you know what? I was just for fun of it all. I was looking at the transfers in the
Mm-hmm.
Remy Gard era. So when he came in, I think it was the 2018 season, if I'm not
Yeah, it
mistaken.
was.
Yeah. So players that came in, okay, at that time. So you had Raheem Edwards, Yuka Raitala, Clément Diop, Michael Petrasso, Zakaria Diallo, Jason Vargas, Ken Kroliki, Rod Fanny, Alejandro Silva, Rudy Camacho, Mathieu Chouanière, Quincy Amarikwa, Michael Azira, and Bakary Sagna.
Oh, but some of those were mid-season.
Yeah, but like that's the whole season, right?
Yeah.
Like
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe some of but okay. So forget about Quincy Amarikwa, Azira, and Sagna. Forget
Okay.
about those. So all the rest came in
Mm-hmm.
before the 22nd of March,
Mm-hmm.
2018, and the players that left. So you had Bernier, Camara, both retirements. Bernardello, Oyongo, Kronberg, Francis, Romero, Simon, Lefebvre retired in January. Boulder. Miley that went away also in January, and Balutabla that went away also in January. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're gonna see as much movement as that here.
Okay. Interesting.
So we'll see. What
We'll
do you
see.
think? You think we're gonna see more?
I think like a similar level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, you're optimistic. Yeah. What?
Yep.
If you're optimistic.
Well, no, I'd almost consider it pessimistic because that level of turnover is not going to be necessarily fun for the start of the next season.
Really? For me,
Yeah.
it would be an optimistic view because for me, it's an optimistic view. That means that we're getting money out of those transfers. So,
Well, you got to do
a
something
lot
with the
to
money.
play with, right?
Yeah.
So
Hopefully.
we'll see.
Indeed. Anyway, regardless of who's sticking around and who's leaving, let's go back to the match because all of the players who played today are still with the club for at least one more match. So, looking at the starting 11, Wilfred Nancy lined up in the familiar 3-4-3 formation. James Pantemis was between the sticks once again, with Lassi Lapalainen on the left wing back, followed by Kamal Miller, Joel Waterman in the middle, Gabriela Corbo, and Alistair Johnston on right wing back. In the middle, we had the double pivot of Wanyama and Piet, followed by Kone, Mihailovic, and Kamara up top. Any surprises for you, Hady, with the lineup?
No surprises at all.
No, because we knew during the week that Camacho obviously had gotten injured in training, so he wasn't going to be able to take part in the match. So that might have been surprising, I guess, if anybody hadn't followed the words. But overall, no, I agree. Not particularly surprising to me either. But it is bad news nonetheless that Camacho picked up a knock in training, because Montreal really, up until the kind of late part of the season, overall had good luck with injuries this year. Like, not a lot of long injuries to players. There was the injury that Mason Toy had picked up at the Big O in preseason. And obviously when Georgi Mihailovic got injured, that was really unfortunate for him. But it did fall like at a relatively good time for Montreal, because it was right at the start of an international window with a decent sized break. So anyway, fingers crossed that Camacho returns to good health.
Yeah, we'll hope so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Hady, I gotta ask, did you get national team or national match flashbacks in the first minute of play when Kamal Miller went sliding in only to concede a free kick from right outside the 18-yard box and pick up a yellow card in the first minute of play? From versus Uruguay.
That's Kamal Miller's play, right? So, there's good things about it. There's bad things about it. Honestly, at first glance, when I saw it live, I didn't think it was a foul. And then, I saw the replay and I was like, yeah, it is a foul. So, it's his play. You have to live with it. Most of the time, he does it quite often in games, right? And most of the time it works, right? But when it doesn't work, it's pretty bad. And
it can be dangerous.
You have to live with it, right? So, did I remember in a national team? Not really. It's just Kamal Miller.
Yeah, okay. I remembered it vividly because it felt like the exact... I was like, this feels like the same spot. This feels like the same play. This feels like everything. But thankfully, the result was different than in the match versus Uruguay, because James Pantemis saved the resulting free kick. It might have been going off target anyway, but he wasn't taking any chances. On the flip side, in the 6th minute, Ismael Kone's pressing on Miami, who tried to play out the back, and I had some vivid Montreal flashbacks here, except living on the reverse end of it. Ismael Kone pressed hard on Miami while they were trying to play out the back, and it paid off. Miami's goalkeeper struggled to control the back pass from his own defender, who Kone had closed down. Kone was able to pick the ball off the goalkeeper's feet and provided it to Georgi Mihailovic, who scored arguably the easiest goal he will ever score. Hady, knowing that Kyoto is questionable for next week's match, how perfect was the timing for Mihailovic to find the scoring touch again?
Amazing. That was the goal of that game, in my opinion. That's what you wanted. You wanted to make sure that those players that were not in a good form get in a good form. And you know what? It happened with Mihailovic, and we'll talk about the rest of the players a bit later. But, for Mihailovic, that's exactly what you needed from this game, man. It's amazing. It's amazing. We were able to play without Mihailovic when he had, MLS standards at the beginning, MLS best standards at the beginning of the season. He was supposedly, the guy up front for the MVP title at the beginning of the year. And when he got injured, we got, other players step in and take that role. And that's exactly what you need when your star player is not here. And right now, our star player was Romel Kyoto. Now it's Mihailovic coming and taking his place in a way. And that's exactly what you need, So that's amazing. Very good timing.
Yep. No, it was perfect timing, and it was really well worked as well by Ismael Kone. That was really good. Yeah. That was really good work from him, I thought, in particular, to be aware of the struggle that Miami was embarking upon, and they definitely were a lot more. I don't know though. I'm gonna get a little off topic, but Miami, they were not up for it, man. That's all I can say about it, to be polite.
It's not a very good team.
But they made the playoffs, so
yeah, they did.
Who are we to judge? Exactly. And Montreal wasted no time doubling their lead in the 8th minute. Lassi Lappalainen drifted deep into the 18-yard box, and Georgi Mihailovic once again was at the center of the action as he carried the ball past a slew of standing Miami players and provided an assist to Lassi Lappalainen, who had been uncovered by any defender, and he tapped in his 3rd goal of the season. Were you surprised by how easy it was for Montreal to score both of those goals in so early in the match, such quick succession, like everything about it.
Yeah, it was, because we haven't seen that from Montreal very often. In the last 10 years. So
This
to,
season, though, they've scored a lot of early goals.
yes, but like 2 goals that early in 8 minutes, that didn't happen that much.
That doesn't.
We did score one, but
Yeah,
two, it
that
didn't
does. I mean,
happen that
no,
often, right?
no. I think. I mean, like for the match itself,
Yeah.
it was so easy for Montreal to take advantage of Miami. It was really shocking. Honestly, if I've ever had been a Miami fan at the stadium, I would have been furious. Because it was, I don't know. I'm not sure where their minds were going into those first few minutes of the match.
Yeah, but let's forget about Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the play,
Mm-hmm.
and how interesting was Georgi Mihailovic during that play.
Yes.
He was so good. Like
Yeah.
his footwork, his everything he did, his
Mm-hmm.
dribbling, everything he did was state of the art. So it's not only Miami that weren't really defending, but
Mm-hmm.
Georgie made a terrific play. That's not
Yes.
something that any player can do. It has to be a very talented player that can do that, and that's what we see in Georgie.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, it was a really good play. I agree with you overall. I think I was just really shocked that
Yeah.
that it was just so easy. Yeah. So in the 14th minute, Miami had finally started to settle into the match, and Gonzalo Higuain won an aerial battle with Joel Waterman and was trying to line up a shot in the 18-yard box, but Kamal Miller slid in to deny him. The Montreal defense was in a little bit of hot water again about 5 minutes later when Miller went up the field as he's known to do, but the ball was turned over in possession, and therefore Montreal was caught short at the back. Ariel Lassiter found himself one-on-one with Joel Waterman, who slid in to negate any chance of a shot. Hady, did you have like any thoughts on Joel Waterman's performance at this, like aside from the own goal, which we're going to talk about later, obviously? Did you have any feelings on Joel Waterman's performance or the communication between him and Miller?
I don't think it's a problem of the defense, like individually, or even as a group. I think it's a tactical problem. What Miami did was to put 2 to 3 players in and around those 3 central defenders, and this in transition, most of the time those players were on their heels because there was too many players in that area, and that's why we saw some clumsy challenges from a few defenders. We talked about Miller, making a few mistakes. Waterman made a few mistakes. I think the only one that made less mistakes was Corbo, but
I
even
agree.
if he wasn't awesome either. So I think all 3 defenders were a bit surprised by how many bodies there was, in that area when the ball was lost, and that's not something that we've seen very much from opposing teams during the season. So do I want to blame one of the central defenders? Not really. I would blame maybe the midfielders that should have been able to read that and come and help a bit more, stay a bit more behind. But that's my opinion. I think that with him, I'll see what he likes to take those risks. He really likes to do that. He knows that, sometimes it's going to be unbalanced. But at the end of the day, in soccer, if you score one more goal than the opponent, you win. Right?
Life's good. Yeah. And as well, like Miami was already down 2 goals by this point. So they had nothing to lose by, sending additional bodies that far forward because, nothing was going to happen. So anyway, in the 36th minute of play, Victor Wanyama wrapped up a long sequence of Montreal possession, and it was a really long sequence once again, which we've seen a few times this season, with a pass between the lines to Kai Kamara, who dribbled past Miami's defenders at his age 38. Very impressive. And Montreal was cruising with a 3-0 lead going into halftime. I know, Hady, that you and I talked about how important it was for Montreal to make to make a result of this match to win if they could. And we certainly expected it was going to be a little bit more challenging than it was, to be honest. But do you think it was a question of Montreal being just that good, or do you think Miami might have maybe had a bit of an emotional hangover or something from their midweek match?
I think it's a bit of both, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of both, and it's a perfect storm for Montreal, right? They're doing good. Miami is a bit. They don't really care about the game because they were qualified just before the game.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of both. But you talked about Camara scoring that goal, being 38 and everything. Look at the pass from Victor Wanyama.
It was a perfect pass. It broke two lines of opposing players. It was a phenomenal pass.
Oh wow! Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it was an excellent pass for sure.
And Camara didn't have to make a big run, right? He'd already started his run and received the ball perfectly placed on his feet. It's just the pass that made the whole goal. It's just a pass. It did.
You are correct. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. So anyway, Montreal carried a 3-0 lead into halftime, and so they got to as well enjoy a little time out of the rain because it was terrible weather in Miami to start the match. Coach Hady, what would you have been saying to the players in that locker room?
Great play, guys. You're doing amazing. Just make sure you don't lose focus because that's exactly what we don't want. We need to concentrate on the next game, on our form, and we need to make sure to make a statement and to make sure that we win that game that we have completely in hand right now. So a bit of a cautious, few sentences, just to make sure that we don't see a drop in the performances from the players.
And we did not.
Thank God.
No. Montreal, kicked off the second half much like the first. They were solidly in control of the match. They were statistically, in control of pretty much, every measurable metric that we use in soccer. So all was well. In the 56th minute, both of the players carrying yellow cards, which were Sam Piet and Kamal Miller, were subbed out for Robert Thorkelson and Mathieu Choinière. In your opinion, Hady, was this a question of preserving the players' fitness for the upcoming match, or was this wanting to make sure that they didn't potentially pick up a second yellow card because that would cause them to be suspended for the first match of playoffs?
Both.
Yeah.
But also, there's a third reason. Also, give a few minutes playing time for Thorkelson and Choinière. Thorkelson, it's mostly for next year.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to be used a lot more next year. And for Mathieu Choinière, you're pretty sure you're going to need Mathieu Choinière in the playoffs. 100%. So you need to make sure that he stays involved. So it's a bit of the three reasons that you talked about: the yellow cards, the fact that they want it fit, but also to make sure that those players are still involved within the group. We talked about the collective, or whatever you want to call it, the brotherhood, whatever you want to call it, the atmosphere in the dressing room. That's very important, and those changes were needed to enforce that, to even solidify that.
Right on. No, excellent point. And so Mason Toye, Sanusi Ibrahim, and Matko Miljevic also joined the match later on during that half. So Wilfried Nancy was obviously looking to fully shuffle his cards and give everybody who he could minutes. Did you notice was there anything notable? I know Sanusi came on really quite late, so maybe not so much Sanusi, but nonetheless. For the substitute players, was there anything particularly notable about any of their contributions to the match?
Yeah. First of all, Matko Miljevic.
He likes to shoot outside the box, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He got a shot on the post, so that's pretty good. But this guy needs to play faster, man. He has always, 1, 2, 3 extra touches on the ball. Man, come on, just go faster, man. And that's something that he needs to improve on. If he wants to make sure to have regular minutes. He was able to do that at one point during this season, but then he completely lost it. So is it a lack of confidence? Maybe.
Mm. But the time where he was able to do it is when he was getting regular minutes, you know? So I don't know
Yeah,
if the like if for him they have to go hand in hand. You know, he needs to be playing regularly to develop that level of confidence to play in one or two touches versus, you know, how it probably does work where you have to work and work and work and use your one or two touches in your limited time. So, no,
yeah.
that's tricky.
I agree. I agree with you, but at the end of the day, at this level, it
No,
shouldn't matter how much
no.
you're playing, how many, what is your playing time. It's
Yeah.
either you play fast and you gel within the team because that's
Hmm.
how the team plays, or you don't, and then you don't belong to that team, right?
Hmm.
So that's the bit of a problem that I have. Roberto
Hmm.
is saying no Torres though. For me,
Mm.
it's normal because Torres played the last game, but
Yeah.
Milivojevic didn't. So I think that Nancy wanted to give a bit of playing time for one in one game and a bit of playing time
Hmm.
for the other in the second
Okay.
game. Uh,
Hmm.
I want to add one last thing. Mason Toy.
Hmm.
I know that his goal wasn't was offside,
Yeah.
but just the fact of being able to score that goal,
Hmm.
choosing the right decision when he passed around the keeper, I think that's going to be very good for his confidence because,
Hmm.
in his final gesture, he was able to finish. And that's
Yeah.
something that he was looking for in the past few games. So hopefully that will trigger something and we'll see again an amazing Mason Toy that we're used to.
Hmm.
But I liked the way he worked when he came in that game. And you said Sanusi, unfortunately, there's nothing to say. He played like 2 or 3 minutes, so
Yeah.
nothing more to add there.
Exactly. Yeah. Agreed. Anyway, in the 85th minute of the match, Miami found the scoreboard. Harvey Neville, in his professional debut, was played onside by Gabriela Corbo. Speaking of moments of not being perfect on the night, and he tried to do a low cross towards the top of the box from the goal line. And Joel Waterman, facing his own goal, managed to intercept the cross and kick it into his own net. That was a strange mental lapse, wasn't it? Like I'm not sure how to describe it.
Yeah, it is strange, but you know what? You're winning 3-0. It's
Mm-hmm.
the end of the game. You're qualified for the playoffs. You have nothing to
No,
prove anymore. So
well,
yeah,
interest.
I don't like it, but I
Yeah,
okay with
you're
it.
okay. Really new. Well, it was actually interesting because that own goal meant the difference between Montreal facing off against Miami and facing off against Orlando in the first round of the playoffs.
That's very
Um,
funny. That's very
yeah,
funny because Wilfried Nancy in his presser, he
yeah.
said, I thanked Joel Waterman for his own goal because I hate playing the same team twice in the same week. So he thanked Joel Waterman for that own goal. It's funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's weird. I kind of hope like the commissioner isn't going to be like looking at Montreal like, but nonetheless,
Is it
um,
deliberate? But
I sincerely hope we're not doing that.
yeah, I hope
Obviously, and
so. I
no,
hope so.
no, surely not. I don't think anyone would do that. Obviously, but
You,
nonetheless, it was humorous.
it was. It was.
Yeah.
But you know what? Even after watching the replay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure he wasn't offside. I
Oh yeah.
didn't see the famous line where
Yeah.
when you because you don't see
With the
that in
computers,
MLS.
exactly.
But I would have liked to see that because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced that he wasn't offside. I'm not at all convinced.
Mm-hmm.
Like he seemed offside even after the replay. I don't know. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I just watched the replay that we saw
No,
on TV.
like
I
I
didn't
mean, it
go
was
and look into
yeah.
it and looked into it further.
Yeah. Okay. You okay? You did deep dive.
No, I didn't. I
Oh,
didn't. That's
sorry.
what I said. I
Okay. I
didn't
was
go. I
picturing
didn't.
like you standing, with a ruler with your TV, maybe.
You know what? There are people that do that on social
Oh, I
media.
know.
So
Oh,
I
I know.
wanted to go and check, but I didn't have time,
No,
unfortunately.
and on
But
it, usually I think they tend to bust those out like when it's like a consequential moment to
yeah,
the people. They probably devote their time more to that. Whereas this one didn't have a ton of consequence. Um, but anyway, Montreal managed to wrap up their 11th road win this season, meaning that they broke an MLS record for total points collected on the road. There we go. And consecutive road wins. Obviously, this is not something we expect at all at the start of the season. So what do these records say about the team, Hady?
It says that Wilfried Nancy should be coach of the year.
Yeah.
Even if, at one point I was, Jim Curtin for sure. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Montreal is only 2 points away from Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, Philadelphia was expected to be at that position or maybe, close by in the top 3 of the East. Mm-hmm. Montreal wasn't expected to be where it is right now. So for me, if Philadelphia had like 10, 15 points on Montreal, okay, mm-hmm. It would have been Jim Curtin. But in my opinion, Wilfried Nancy is coach of the year. And there's no question about it. Mm-hmm. No question about it. All the records that this team have broken, it's just not normal to not see Wilfried Nancy win that award. Not normal.
Also, not normal to not know his fate as coach of Montreal next season. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. It really does.
I don't think it's going to be a problem, honestly. Okay. I'm pretty sure. I think usually sporting directors and even coaches don't really want to talk about it in the middle of the season or right now. And right now they need to concentrate on other things. So I wouldn't be. I'm not really worried, to be honest, unless Wilfried Nancy has decided with his wife or girlfriend. I'm not sure if he's married, but his
partner.
His partner, thank you. Unless he decided to move back to Europe, but I doubt it. I doubt it.
Yeah. Yep. Likewise, but nonetheless, me. I'm gonna worry until,
of course,
until I have the all clear not to worry. Alrighty. So, anything else you want to add on this match, Hady?
No. It's exciting to see Montreal do it until the end. Mm-hmm. Win and play their own game until the end of the season. Like last year, we're going to talk about it a bit later, but last year it wasn't the same. So, so I'm so happy for the team.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Alrighty. Well, in that case, let's move on to the preview of our playoff match because we finally know who Montreal is going to host next week, and it is Orlando City. Oh, we are familiar with Orlando City, aren't we?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying before. We're going to talk about it a bit later, and that was not a lot later. Not a lot of time have passed since I said that.
There you go.
So I'm just going to take you back to the final game of the season in 2021.
I don't need to be brought back. I vividly remember it. Thank you.
So I'm going to take our listeners back to the last game of the season of 2021.
Okay, well, listeners, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go wash my dishes or something.
Montreal, Orlando, Stade Saputo. Montreal with the win finishes 5th in the Eastern Conference and eliminates Orlando City. Montreal has been a very good team during the season, even if at the end of the season, the team started crumbling. And Orlando comes to at Stade Saputo and scores 2 and wins the game 2-0. Rudy Camacho gets a red card. He had an awesome year this year in 2001 and 21. He was, I think, the best central defender of the team. Mm-hmm. And our dreams and hopes were completely drowned on the 21st of November.
It was,
on the 7th of November 2021. And that was really, really sad. So hopefully we'll see another ending this time around.
Indeed. I agree. Obviously, this is also the team that we faced in the very first match of the season this year. It also involving a red card to Ramel Kyoto. And also involving a loss. And obviously, Montreal was in quite a different place at that time as well, as far as, juggling CCL and things like that. But nonetheless, as well, Montreal did have the better match the last time that Orlando did come to visit, which was this season when they got an emphatic 4-1 win. So, I mean, these matches typically between Montreal and Orlando are eventful. Like, I mean, you think about that with that match last year. Was it a 4-4 draw? Do you remember there was a
Against
match and there was 2 red cards? Because we played Orlando, I think, 3 times last year.
did we do a 4-4 match? I don't think we
There
had a
was
4-4
okay.
game. I'm gonna check. Last year in 2021, right?
In
You're talking.
2000, yeah, I'm talking about 2021. There was, I know for sure there was a match where we played them and they had 2 red cards, which was pretty wild. Um,
I'm gonna tell you. So 2021, we played Orlando the first time.
I found it.
It was 4-2, 4-2 on the 15th of
Yep.
September. Is it that game?
That's the one I'm thinking of. I don't know why
Yeah.
I thought it was 4-4. Yeah.
No, it's 4-2, and we won 4-2 in Orlando.
Yeah.
So that was in September, and then we played again in Orlando on the 20th of October, and it was
Okay.
1-1.
That was a draw. Okay.
Yeah,
There we
exactly.
go. Okay. I just had to sort out my various scores
That's
and
okay.
cards.
I
Yeah.
never remember scores, so
There you go.
so never
There you go.
remember scores. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
can't judge you.
Thanks. Alrighty, but nonetheless, obviously, like I said, they're usually pretty eventful matches when Montreal and Orlando face off,
Yeah.
and obviously, a lot of Montreal fans still have a little bit of a wound on their heart, I would say, for the Nacho Piatti injury of 2019, which kind of ruined that season for him, unfortunately. So there is like I think a lot on the go in this match nonetheless. We already know Orlando City put out the news earlier this week that Robin Janssen, who's a very important player for them, is going to be absent. He had foot surgery, so he will not be able to participate. And that is, I would say, good news for Montreal. Overall, and obviously we're not sure if Ramel Kyoto is going to be coming back or not. Same with Rudy Camacho. So there is a lot, I would say, riding on this match. How are you feeling going into this one, Hady?
Confident,
Yeah.
really confident. You know what? Robin Jansen, you said it's very important, and we've seen Orlando really struggling in defense, since he got injured. So
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. The second thing is that in Montreal, there's not one player that's really lifting the team. It's a whole group. So even if we have players missing, we're still
Mm-hmm.
able to get results, and that's what
Yep.
really brings me a bit of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Roberto said it just right now. He said we are a better team this year, so no fear. Like from last year, sorry. So we are a better team, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that the team, that's what's important in that sentence, because not one player is irreplaceable. Not one player is that important. Now, I think also that all the players that were missing today,
Mm-hmm.
it was mostly to make sure that they're ready for the playoffs. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Camacho's injury is that
Mm-hmm.
serious. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure that it was, a precaution
Like a
by Wolf
knock.
Ganassi and his staff. Exactly, just a knock.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'll be okay. Maybe Kyoto is the one that I'm mostly afraid of, but the rest, I think
Mm-hmm.
everybody's going to be here. I'll be very surprised if it's not the case.
Right on. Well, fingers crossed. They obviously, like I said, it will be interesting. Montreal is obviously coming into this match in better form than Orlando
Yeah,
is. They did win today, but they lost midweek and they lost last weekend as well. Actually, they haven't. Aside from today, they only won once since the September round of matches kicked off. They've lost 4 and won 2 of their past 6. So, not definitely not the best form to be coming into playoffs with. Montreal, on the
yeah.
other hand, obviously is, but we do know that they are better road warriors than they are a home team. So it's going to be interesting for sure, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a good
Yeah.
game. We don't know. Are we sure it's gonna be at Saputo, or is it gonna be at an Olympic Stadium? We don't know yet, right?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be at Satsbudo.
But there wasn't any official
The
statement or anything
No,
sent or anything, right?
tickets go on sale tomorrow.
Okay.
That much I know. I'm like, that much I know.
If it's not sold out, I'll be very mad.
I'd be really surprised.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, no, that thought didn't even cross my mind, to be honest with you.
Me neither. But
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So anyway, yeah,
we have
definitely.
other questions, right?
We sure do.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at Robbie's second question. It's in the same image.
Yeah. Oh yeah, same image. Exactly.
Alrighty. So so Robbie's second question is, why is there so much fear of Columbus in the CF Montreal universe? So funnily enough, it was actually Columbus who, once again, for the umpteenth time this season, gave up a late goal to Orlando, leading them to become eliminated. So, okay, I didn't have this fear of Columbus, so I'm not sure. Do you want to speak to this one, Hady? Because I know that they were the team that you didn't want to face.
Oh yeah. Every time Montreal has played Columbus, in my opinion, Columbus has been the better team. Mm-hmm. Just maybe at the end of the games where Montreal was able to score and either win the game in Columbus or draw the game in Montreal. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why at one point, if they had made the playoffs, maybe come playoff time, they would have lost their bad habits of being out conceding at the end of the games, because that team during the first 60, 70 minutes have been very hard to play against for Montreal, for Wilfried Nancy. And that's why I was very afraid of Columbus. But you know what? They're not qualified.
Matches, I was going to say, matches are 90 minutes long.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy that they're not here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I cannot believe they did it again to become eliminated. I cannot believe. I'm shocked. I'm sure that's got to be Caleb Porter's job. I'm sure he's got to be done. I don't see how you come back from that much choking.
I saw him on the sidelines, during the game, because I watched maybe the last 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. He was like losing his mind. Losing his mind.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. No,
such a good coach too. So
it's so weird. But I'd say that as somebody who's followed a team that knows how to blow a lead late in the game. But I think for the reputation Columbus has, that's got to be the end for him, because their standards and their reputation are high. Yeah, but anyway, I obviously have no inside information. That's just my personal theory. Let's pivot though back to Montreal. We do have some questions about our lineup for the match. Yep. So we have questions from Mathieu and Patrick.
Yeah, so let's start with Mathieu. So Mathieu, our friend, is where are you? So I'm just gonna make sure that I have him here. Let's start with Patrick. No, here's Mathieu. Sorry.
You can start with whoever you want.
Okay. Yeah, so if Kyoto is not ready for first playoff game, would you play 2 forward with offensive midfielder or 1 forward with 2 offensive midfielder?
I'd probably go 2 forwards, 1 offensive. Okay, wait, now, Hady, if you have a thought, go ahead.
Oh, you know what? I like the way Montreal played today.
Likewise.
3-4-3. 3-4-3 with Kone being it's
he's
not
kind
very,
of like a free
a roaming player. Yeah, exactly. So he can go anywhere he wants. With Georgie being able to play on the right, but also play in the middle, helping out Kei Kamara play up front. Kai Kamara also, we know him; he can play anywhere. So I like that. I think I would choose that same system, or the 3-4-3 or whatever you want to call it, because it's not clear 3-4-3. But that's exactly what I would do.
I agree. Actually, I agree. I would agree with your assessment, Hady. There you go. Now you can sleep easy. Drop the mic. Whatever.
Good. So yeah. So Mathieu, no, I would go with the 3-4-3. Hopefully we'll see Kyoto back. That is
the ideal solution.
Exactly. I think Patrick has a similar question. Yeah. So he said, looking forward to some fresh analysis. Thanks, Patrick, for always following us. Unfortunately, can't join you live. That being said, can we make noise in the playoffs without Kyoto? I think it's at best a second round exit without him. Everyone is talking about Johnston and Miller. That's something else. We'll talk about it a bit later. So, I think I already answered it. For me, Kyoto or no Kyoto, it's the team. Montreal has always been a team. It's not one player. And, I'm not going to repeat myself, but, I think I already answered your question, Patrick, during the pod. Eve, anything to add?
No, Montreal managed to pull off the last 2 matches without Kyoto. And obviously he's had, other matches where he's been maybe like not 100% up to his usual form. And they've still managed to get the job done. So I think they can. Ideally, though, that would kind of coincide with Mason Toy getting his form back in an ideal world, if I may. And I think that the stuff about Johnston and Miller, I think we talked about that really at the start, eh?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we did. Exactly. We did talk about it. Right. So we're not gonna answer it again, Patrick. So I hope you're happy with our answers, and thanks for always sending us questions.
Or you can let us know if you're not. It's okay.
Exactly.
And thanks. We can take it.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for sending us questions. We love it. So continue on doing so because we love it.
Exactly. Alrighty, so let's move on to our favorite. Montreal will win if, and Montreal will lose if. Do you want to start or me?
I hate that game. I hate it.
I know you hate it.
I feel that I say the same thing every week.
All right.
I really feel that I say the same thing every week. Montreal will win if they play their game. I really think that they have to make sure that they're concentrated enough to play their game, to not be overwhelmed by being in the playoffs, by being in such an important game, and being focused on what they've done during the whole season and continue on doing the same thing during that game. So that's, in my opinion, the reason why Montreal will win. And Montreal will lose if I'm sorry, but I don't see Montreal losing. Okay. I really don't.
Okay. You know me, I'm like, oh my God, here he goes.
I know.
Alrighty. Okay, cool. Well, I'll do it then. Montreal will win if they do not get sucked into that kind of CONCACAF-y like style that Orlando City can play. You know what I mean? Like they
very physical.
Very physical, but also like they will do kind of a lot of the gamesmanship type things. I noticed it for sure today in the match versus Columbus, which I did catch a bit of as well. So like don't get sucked in. Obviously, we saw at the start of the season, Ramel Kyoto got sucked in and got a red card, for example. But just don't get baited. Just stay calm, cool, composed, collected, all that good stuff. And I'm going to say Montreal will lose if their defenders go in for as many sliding challenges as they did today. I feel like they...
You don't like sliding challenges, huh?
Gives me the heebie-jeebies, for sure. But no, actually... Orlando City, they have a lot of really technical players, a lot of players as well. Like Facundo Torres, he has such a low center of gravity that if you bring him down, you risk, I think, a lot to give up a penalty. So just, you got to be super careful. Stay on your feet. That's what I'm going to say. And yeah, so anyway, obviously next week, of course, we will recap, hopefully a win. Hopefully no penalties conceded, the whole 9 yards. But the Western Conference games have since wrapped up. So the full playoff bracket is complete. And Hady, do we have like an image of that or anything?
I'm trying to find an image, but I think it's too recent, so there's no image whatsoever.
No worries, then I'm just going to tell you how it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can. Okay. Cool. Well, let me just take a look here because it is loading very slowly on my phone. For the love of
I
all,
can start if you want to.
Nope, we're good.
Go ahead.
We're good. So I'll start with the East, obviously, since that's our conference. So Philly, as the number 1 seed has a bye for the
Mhm.
first round into the conference semifinals. Round 1 is New York Red Bulls versus FC Cincinnati. And Philadelphia will play the winner of that match. Then, of course, we have Montreal versus Orlando, and the winner of that match is going to play the winner of New York City versus Miami. So we could be facing Miami in quick succession.
Yeah, or New York City. I think that New York City will edge Miami, but we'll see.
They won't be playing the Yankee Stadium. I believe they'll be playing at Red Bull Arena.
And that's the reason why they will edge Miami.
Well, for me, Yankee Stadium is like a freebie for them because it's so weird and only they are used to playing on it.
True. I agree, but like I think come playoffs, I'm pretty sure that the players want to play, like are going to be happy to play on a normal field.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Fair enough. But I mean, they went through such a weird slump.
Yeah.
And they're kind of just starting to pick themselves up out of it. I'm not sure if they've got like a good enough head of steam built up for the playoffs.
Yeah, but looking at them today winning in Atlanta 2-1 for me is a very good indicator that they're back in a way. It's very tough, even if Atlanta is not a great team and everything. It's always tough to go win in Atlanta. So I think that we're gonna see New York City really win that game, but we'll see. Yeah. But what do you think about the Red Bulls Cincinnati?
Red Bulls are going to be hosting. Interesting. Because Cincinnati, they have I think really taken the training wheels off this year. They are scoring goals like left, right, and center for fun. They finally seem to have gotten their defense somewhat in order. Still, I don't think I would call it perfect for them. I feel like that's going to be a really chaotic match. Like most FC Cincinnati matches are, to be honest with you. Like their matches are wild.
They won 5-2 today in DC.
Exactly, 5-2. Yeah. I think Benner had a hat trick before halftime.
Brenner hat trick and Vasquez 3 assists on this hat trick.
Oh my goodness!
And a goal after, and it's Brenner that gave the assist on Vasquez's goal. So I don't know.
Yeah. But obviously, New York Red Bulls are so solid. They have that system down. I kind of feel like their level of organization, it's such a contrast of two styles of play, Yeah. But I feel like their level of organization is gonna win out.
Nah, I'm rooting for the craziness of Cincinnati. I'm with my man Steven, man.
I do like Steven, and I will smile for Steven because this is Cincinnati's first time in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have a feeling that Cincinnati is gonna win it. Win that game. I don't know. I hope so.
We'll see. Alrighty, and looking to the West, we have LAFC with the first round bye into the conference semifinals, and they're going to play the winner of LA Galaxy versus Nashville. The other round 1 playoff, the winner of Dallas versus Minnesota will face off against the winner of Austin, versus Real Salt Lake in the conference semis. So it was Real Salt Lake who snuck in there today. Yeah. Yeah.
What's interesting in the West?
Go to town. What?
Portland, Seattle, Sporting KC not making the playoffs. All 3 of them.
Yeah. Well, for Seattle, this is like a 13 years of history kind of down the drain. Of course, they have a trophy, I think, that they can appreciate this year.
Yeah, the Champions League, of course.
Exactly. But yeah, no, it was very surprising. And it was done and dusted for Seattle a couple of weeks ago that they weren't going to be in the playoffs. So they didn't even take it up to decision day, which is extra surprising.
Yeah, but all 3 of them together. You can have an off season, for Seattle, but those 3 are very big clubs in the West. All 3 of them, like Portland, man. Like what the hell? Portland missing the playoff, and Seattle and Sporting KC. I can't understand. I have trouble breathing. It's as simple as that. But interesting playoffs. That game, I think, between Austin and Real Salt Lake is going to be very, very interesting. Real Salt Lake is known for being very good in playoffs, and we've seen it in the last couple of years. A very experienced team of Real Salt Lake playing a very new team as like Austin FC. I think that's going to be. We might see maybe an upset here. If there's an upset to be had, I would say in that game, that could be the upset. The other one, between Dallas and Minnesota is going to be, I think, a very interesting game also.
Yeah, Dallas, though, have been in not Dallas, my apologies to Dallas. Minnesota have been in just absolutely abysmal form. Aside from today, like, I mean, their last several matches are loss. So, it's obviously they pulled it off today, so they can obviously back to the wall that they can get her done if they need to, but we'll see. Yep. And then Nashville versus LA Galaxy for Nashville's final I'm gonna say final question mark playoff appearance in the West.
Yeah, that's so weird that
I know they just bounce back and forth.
Exactly.
It drives me nuts.
But you know what? If you think about it, and we talked about with our friend Wes, it's just not normal for them to play with the Western teams. They're really far from the West. They're a lot closer to the Eastern teams. So hopefully it's going to be better for them, not traveling that much.
Yeah.
And I think that game against the LA Galaxy is going to be very interesting because LA Galaxy is in the second year of Greg Vanney, and I think we've seen the Greg Vanney effect. And we all know Nashville is a very solid team. So
exactly, and they have the league MVP on their team.
Exactly.
In my opinion, if we can pronounce Coach Wilfred Nancy as Coach of the Year, then we can pronounce Hany Mukhtar as a league MVP.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. If you had told me that maybe 3-4 weeks ago, I would have said no. Sebastian Driussi has a say in this. But in the last 3-4 weeks, Hany Mukhtar, made it, stepped it up a notch. So
exactly.
So it's even better. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think the playoffs are gonna be very exciting.
Yeah, no, I think they are super interesting this year. All the more so because Montreal's taking part.
For sure.
Right on. Alrighty. Will we move on to some MLS? I'm gonna call it MLS adjacent news.
Yeah, of course.
Alrighty.
Go ahead.
So this week, MLS published the announcement of the Leagues Cup, which is a new competition that is going to be taking place between MLS teams, all MLS teams, and Liga MX teams. And there is a lot to unpack in this. I'm not going to lie. I was really surprised by I'm just going to stop my sentence. I was surprised because I was surprised many times throughout my reading of the announcement. So it's going to start next year, and the inaugural edition is going to run from July 21st through August 19th, and league play for both of these leagues will be paused during that time. Like, no regular season matches are going to take place, which kind of shook me to my core, but I was like, okay. I'm not going to get into like the seeding and all of that just because it's a little bit complicated for a podcast show and it merits a graphic. So nonetheless, the important thing to know is that there will be group stage matches followed by knockout rounds, similar to most other tournaments, obviously. And it's going to be divided into 4 regions, East, West, South, and Central. And a total of 77 matches are going to be played, including the final, obviously. Another interesting peculiarity about it is that the matches are also unable to end in a tie. This applies to all the matches, not just the knockout round. If a match is tied after 90 minutes, each team is going to receive 1 point in the standings, and there's going to be a penalty shootout. And the winner of the penalty shootout receives an additional point in the standings. So weird.
Yeah, this is weird. I didn't like that part.
It's so weird. And also important to know is that the third place winner, as well as the finalists, are going to all qualify for CONCACAF Champions League, and the winner will have a bye straight to the round of 16 in that competition. So there is obviously a good incentive in place. What are your thoughts, Hady? I had so many thoughts when I read this. I was like, what the hell?
I love it. I know I'm going to surprise a lot of people, but I love it. I'm used to European football, right? Because I grew up with European football. Okay. And of course, I'm a very, I'm a very a big MLS fan, been following it for years and everything. the thing is, in MLS, like in the European championships, you have what we call, you have the championship and you have the cup. And sometimes you have a second cup too, right? So you have FA Cup, like in England, you have FA Cup and you have
the EFL Cup.
The EFL Cup, because it changed the name so
Oh
many
yes,
times.
they've changed the
Capital
names.
One and whatever it is.
Technically, it's named after an energy drink now.
Exactly. So what I like about it, about that format, is being able to play Mexican opposition a lot more, because we all know how difficult it is for MLS teams to win in CONCACAF. By playing a lot more against those teams, the level of play is going to at one point adjust, and we're going to be able to know how to play against these teams. You don't need to qualify for the Champions League to play these kind of teams. And I think I like that, and the fact that at the end of the day, it's a cup, right? So you play 3 games. The group stage, I think it's going to be 3 games. And then, if you're eliminated, you're eliminated. It's only 3 more games. It's not that much. If not, you play knockout round, and knockout round, it gives you a lot more experience, a lot more, and a lot more history also. It's going to be interesting to see, those duels between those 2 leagues that are kind of rivals, right? And have been rivals for a lot of years. I love it. I love it. I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be hard to get the depth to play that many games during the season, because you're going to have a lot more games to play, and you're going to have to use your depth a lot more. And we know that the depth of Mexican teams is a lot better than the depth of MLS teams, because they have so much budget than MLS teams. But I think that in a couple of years, of 3-4 years, we're going to be able to maybe rise up to the challenge and become better and better, just because of those kinds of competitions.
Right. I find it weird because, it feels almost, if I'm being completely honest with you, it feels almost like a preseason tournament, because this is about the time that, or like I'm referring to like the start date of July 19th there.
Yeah.
That's like when the aperture typically kicks off.
Yeah.
So I just find it so weird that, like, to me, it feels almost like a preseason tournament of like friendly nothingness. Even though there is like legitimate stuff
for Mexican teams, Mexican teams. But you know what? At one point, it's maybe going to be the preseason for Mexican teams, but CONCACAF is the preseason of the MLS teams.
That's the fact.
So at one point, it's going to balance itself out. So
fair enough.
I don't know. In a way, I don't know. I think it's going to be positive. I know that when we look at it at first glance, we're like, man, that's really F up, right? But I like it. I don't know why. I know a lot of people don't like that. I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun.
I don't know.
I want to answer Roberto's question, if you don't mind. If he asks if this is on top of the 34 in MLS. Yes, it is on top of the 34.
Squeezing them in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were saying, sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, I have no idea. I'm like, I don't think it was very important. No, I mean, I have to like see it to really be able to obviously properly pronounce an opinion on it. But overall, I don't know. It's got me scratching my head. Like, I feel like the no ties thing is a little bit gimmicky.
Yeah.
I find that to be a little bit silly.
Yeah.
But I do find it interesting because I think it does kind of open the door a lot as far as CONCACAF Champions League qualification. So I think that's going to be probably one of the most interesting parts of it for me.
Yeah, and you know what? Canadian teams are going to have even more chances to qualify for the Champions League, because don't forget, I think it's next year that we start off being eligible to qualify for Champions League with good MLS results. So, being the first in the East or being the first in the West would qualify a Canadian team also for the Champions League in 2024. So it starts next year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be very interesting also. So Canadian teams will be able to do that through the Canadian Championship, through the Leagues Cup, and also through MLS regular season. So it's exciting. And don't forget that, of course, the CanPL champion will be qualified also for the Champions League. So I think that's very exciting for Canada, and we are a Canadian podcast here, so I think we will have a lot to gain from the Leagues Cup new format.
Yep. Nope, I agree. Yep. Anyway, anything to add on the Leagues Cup?
No, I'm all good. I said
Already.
everything I needed to say.
Wonderful. Well, then, do you want to cue up your lovely intro so that we can talk about the Canadian women's
Oh,
national team?
thank you, Eve. I'm so appreciated. I'm gonna cry. One second.
Alrighty. Okay, cool. So, Canada is playing 2 friendlies in this international window, and they played the first of those 2 friendlies on Thursday versus Argentina. And I know, Hady, when you and I had been talking about this, we said like Argentina is kind of up and coming in the world of women's soccer. Yeah. So, they're not quite the elite, like top tier level, but nonetheless, it is a different opponent for Canada to be facing than the teams they often face. So that in and of itself was an interesting enough challenge. So we're not going to do like a full match breakdown just in the interest of time, obviously, but nonetheless, let's take a look at the starting 11 that Bud Priestman put out for that match because as we had discussed, there were a lot of interesting names that have been called into the squad. So we had Kaylin Sheridan in net. We had Alicia Chapman, Shalina Zadorsky, Kadisha Buchanan, Bianca St. George, Nichelle Prince, Julia Grosso, Jessie Fleming, Adriana Leon, Janine Becky, and Jordan Heitema for the starting 11. So what did you think about that, knowing the players who were on the bench? And obviously there were several important absences through injury for this window.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk about the injuries. Let's talk about the injuries first, and then we'll talk about the starting 11. So the injuries, we had Christine St. Clair, Ashley Lawrence, Vanessa Gilles, Jade Riviere, Diane Rose, and Gabrielle Carr, all injured and not available during that game. So that's why we've seen so many different faces during this international window. Now, specifically for that game, I'm going to ask you a question first. If I want to analyze that starting 11, when was the last time, Eve, that you've seen a midfield without Quinn and Scott?
I found it so strange. I felt like destabilized.
It's weird.
I was like, yes, but where's our defensive midfielder? Where?
Yeah, but even if without one of those 2 members.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's strange.
It's so weird.
Yeah, I agree.
A new Canada, and I think that's the reason why we haven't seen a very big performance in the first half.
No, I agree. The first half of the match is like not really worth talking about. To be completely honest, it was super uneventful. Canada obviously dominated a ton of possession. They were head and shoulders, let's be honest, above Argentina, but overall, they didn't have a lot of clinicism in front of the net, which is something that we have had concerns about in the past. Nonetheless, though, Bev Priestman had quite a bench at her disposal, and she turned to it right from halftime. And lo and behold, guess who came in right at halftime? Quinn. There we go. The midfield balance was restored.
Yeah, exactly.
If you will. So Quinn is joined from the bench, and after coming on, they started a move which saw their pass combined with fellow subs Simi Awujo and Evelyn Vienne. Evelyn Vienne pressured the Argentine goalkeeper Vanina Correa, who was actually she was a really good goalkeeper, really good for her. But nonetheless, her pressure on Correa caused the ball to become loose, and it provoked an own goal from Argentina in the 68th minute of the match. Although Vienne actually wasn't credited with the goal because it was an own goal, how important was this contribution from her?
Very important. If I look at the game, we're going to talk about the rest of the game later, but she's the man of the match, or the woman of the match. She is the woman of the match. She's involved in every dangerous play that Canada has had. And don't forget, you talked about Quinn, coming in at halftime. Vian also came in at halftime.
Yeah.
Those were the two substitutions made by Beth Friesman,
Mm-hmm.
and it changed the game. It
Mm-hmm.
really changed the game. Not only Quinn and her movement and her versatility and her chance creation, everything. They are awesome, and Vivian has been as important in that game and in the turnout of that game.
Yeah, no. I thought Evelyn Vian really was really active, really seized her chance. Like she looked like she had a place there for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Nonetheless, and obviously, like I was really pleased to see Simia Wujo, who is really young and new to the squad, involved in creating as well that own goal. I think Beth Priestman has big plans for her by the looks of it, for the amount of time that she got in that friendly. But yeah. This match, though, even though it was a friendly, I don't know if you noticed. Well, I'm sure you noticed. It was really chippy. It was really physical. Argentina, did a lot of strong challenges. What's up?
That you said, I don't know if you noticed. Like that's the only thing that you could see in that game.
I know.
It was unbelievable. The referee was so bad. It's just not normal.
Well, I was. I don't know.
Argentina should have had 3 red cards in that game.
They should have had more cards, definitely. Than they got, and as well, obviously, in the 57th minute, they did wind up getting a player sent off, but it was actually a second yellow card offense, which I think still could have been a straight red.
Should have been a straight red. And also, there was a few challenges on Jordan Heidema and a few challenges on Reina Leon that could have been straight reds too.
Yeah.
And there wasn't even a yellow card or even a warning.
Yeah.
Even a warning, like nothing. Like the ref
It was weird.
I don't know.
It was weird.
Yeah. He wasn't here, the ref.
It was strange. Anyway, luckily though, it seems as though everybody emerged like unscathed from that friendly. Yeah. And as well, Chloe Lacrosse took advantage of her substitute appearance. And I know we had talked not a lot. We talked a fair bit about Chloe Lacrosse.
Yeah.
And she's generally enjoying a really good season with Portugal. Like she's really important to her team with Benfica. But she hasn't necessarily seized her chance, even though she does regularly get called into the women's national team. Nonetheless, she did take advantage this time around, and she scored her first goal for Canada with a tap-in the 87th minute. And let's be honest, it really could have been a higher scoreline for Canada, because especially after the red card, it was basically Canada had the ball the entire time and were experimenting with passing sequences and so on. Overall, though, it was interesting, and like I said, I'm mainly just happy people emerged unscathed. So in your opinion, after this match, whose stock has maybe risen more or significantly?
I really like the game of Bianca Saint-Georges, even if she only played the first half. I think she's going to be very interesting, in the future. I know that Ashley Lawrence has that right back position locked in, but I think that Bianca Saint-Georges being the second choice with Jade Riviere. We know that Jade Riviere is going to be sidelined for a few months, so we don't know when she's going to be back.
Yeah.
But I think we have a very good backup with Bianca Saint-Georges, so that's one. The second player that really impressed me, I talked about Evelyne Vian, and I'll talk about her a bit more right now. She's involved in the first goal, like we said earlier. She's involved in the second goal because she's the one getting the cross from Larisi, trying to deflect the ball into the net. It's a save from the keeper. It falls to Chloe Lacasse. Chloe Lacasse scores a goal. And of course, Chloe Lacasse is, scoring her first goal for Canada is going to be so important mentally. And I think that's going to be very important also. So hopefully, Beth Friesman, that I really love, will see the value in those 3 players. The last player that I want to talk about is Simia Wujo. She's so good, like so good that I can't see her out of the lineup anymore. Like it's impossible for her to miss any international window from now on.
Mm-hmm. Like I kind of wish she had gotten more minutes versus Australia, because I am kind of taking the Argentina with a grain of salt, because they did go down to 10 players, and they're not necessarily as strong competition as Australia was. And although Simi Awujo did get a few minutes, it was just so short, that it was really hard to judge. But nonetheless, I completely agree. Like, I am high on Samia Widjo for sure. And I can see why Bev Priestman is so keen to call her up often, and to bring her into matches and give her significant time.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And what I really want to underline, after that game, you look at the combinations on those two goals, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and we see the new Canada shaping up, right? First goal, you see that 1-2 between Vian and Awujo. Not really 1-2, sorry. It's a
It's like
pass
a
from
give and
Quinn.
go.
Yeah, a pass from Quinn to Awujo, then that really gives the ball. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
a give and go to Evan Vian that scores the goal, even if it's an own
Mm-hmm.
goal. And the second goal,
Mm-hmm.
Larisi crossing the ball, Vian deflecting it, Lacasse being here to score it and to put it at the back of the net. That's when we said that the future of Canada, we're never going to see a player like Christine Sinclair. We're going to see a few players, merging in
Mm-hmm.
to really, offer the same kind of productivity. That's exactly what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting, and I think that all those four players deserve a spot in with Canada in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
of course, there's not a lot of places,
Nope.
so hopefully, they'll keep on producing and being
Mm-hmm.
having great performances to be called up again. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what do you
Well,
think about this new generation?
I'm excited. I'm definitely
Yeah,
really excited to see it. I feel it feels like we're going to be okay when Christine Sinclair retires, because that
yeah,
day will eventually come. And it's been kind of hard, I guess, the past maybe 4 or 5 years to imagine a future.
yeah.
But the kids have come out of the woodwork, and it turns out that they're all right. So I'm quite pleased. I'm excited by it. Obviously, I'm excited by Bev Priestman. I like what she brings tactically. I think it's interesting, and it feels good.
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Very interesting game. I think that the former, like the Canada of Kenneth Harner Mortar, that of course I hold in very high regard, um, would have drawn that game or maybe lost that game.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what's very interesting.
No, no, good point. Yeah, definitely not my favorite technician, but who am I to judge? Other than a Canadian. Nonetheless, though, I'm not gonna lie. I think we do still need a defensive midfielder. I think the match was changed when Quinn came on. I felt like their presence was really important in relaunching those
Yeah,
attacks. So I would hope to see in the match versus Morocco, either Quinn or Scott start, as a proper defensive midfielder.
I think that's where it's a bit worrying.
Mm-hmm.
If Quinn is not here, Scott is not getting any younger. Sophie
Mm-hmm.
Schmidt is not getting any younger either. Who's the backup to Quinn?
No, that's a good question.
We don't have anybody,
No.
and maybe we're gonna see. I remember I forgot her name. The player that plays in the NWSL, and I always forget her name. I'm trying to look for the name,
Sophie
but
Schmidt?
no, no, no,
No,
no,
I was gonna say, because I'm like,
younger
Sophie,
player.
Sophie Schmidt is old or
No, no, no,
older.
a younger
Yeah.
player, not very young, but a younger player that's been around for a few years. What's her name? Victoria Pickett,
Oh, okay.
from
Yeah,
the Kansas City
Kansas
Current.
City. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Or Marie Yasmin Alidou, even if she's not really a defensive midfielder. So
Uh huh.
can she play that role? I'm not really sure, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that Pickett can play that role. So we'll see.
And yeah, but no, you raise a good point that is maybe a gap that Canada needs to make sure that they address, because we never know, Quinn might get injured, and like you said, Scott is at some point as well going to have to retire, at some point.
Yeah.
Yep. But let's talk about the near future, though, and let's talk about Canada's next match against Morocco tomorrow. Obviously, once again, a really different opponent than Canada usually faces, for sure. And once again, taking place in Spain. So what would you like to see for this match coming up? Do you want to see Bev Priestman maybe like shuffle her cards a lot more and bring in, different players? Or because this is prep for the World Cup, do you want to try and keep it close to a World Cup squad to start tomorrow?
No, I want to see Bev Priestman shuffle more and maybe give a start to. I think I want to see that trident of Evelyn Vian, Larissy, and Lacasse get a start. All three of them together.
Oh wow!
That could be amazing. I know that Bev Priestman said that she wanted to have a change in between the sticks. So as a goalkeeper, so we'll not see Kaylin Sheridan. So either going to be Sabrina D'Angelo or Lisanne Proulx, which could be very interesting because she's unattached. So that could be interesting. But yeah, no, I hope that we're going to see something different, and we're going to see those players get a bit more minutes to see if they deserve to be called up a bit more often and being regulars in that squad. So I think there's some places up for grabs, and I think those players are playing for them in those friendlies. So I hope Bev Priestman is going to be able to see a bit more of that.
Yeah. No, interesting. I agree. And I thankfully should be able to catch that match like live tomorrow, finally, since it is a holiday. So it will be on One Soccer, by the way, in case anyone was unaware.
At 10:30.
Yes. Thank you. Eastern. Alrighty. So Hady, anything else to add on the women's team, or do you want to kick it over to social media?
No, I said everything I needed to say. I don't know if you have anything to add.
I'm good to go.
Good. So let's do social media with our small segment introducement. There it is. Okay, so let's start with the first tweet from Mr. F. So Forn. It totally makes sense for TFC's Italian players getting injured at this stage of the season could jeopardize their participation at the World Cup next month. Oh, wait. Sorry for our Italian friends, but I love that tweet. Talking about Lorenzo Insigne and Domenico Criscito not playing that game of that Toronto game against Philadelphia on decision day. I kind of understand the decision of TFC 100%, but it's still funny,
Yeah,
I like that.
No, we're never going to miss an opportunity to laugh at Toronto FC's expense.
Exactly, and they got beaten hard today, 4-0.
It's Philly. Philly has a habit of doing that. They have like a plus 40. It was plus 47 the last time I looked, and I don't think the match was done.
Philly just lost 4-0.
Yeah,
4-0 in Charlotte.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah,
as an anomaly.
Exactly. So maybe the anomaly could have been against Toronto.
Alas, but it wasn't.
It wasn't, exactly. So Roberto's not very funny.
Sorry,
it's not very.
Sorry, Robbie.
Sorry, Robbie. I know that Italy not qualified for the for the World Cup is kind of still a shock for you, but it is what it is, my friend. It is what it is, like Thierry Henry used to say. So second tweet from Sebastian High. The metaphors used by the Scottish home broadcast color commentator in the Montreal-Miami game are very entertaining. Unfortunately, the finish was a garlic milkshake. Was my favorite. I loved it. Can you imagine a garlic milkshake? Oh!
No, I don't want to, thank you. Oh my God, is it Ray Hudson that they have as their home commentator? Because that sounds like his style, it does a lot. That is a hoot. And
but Ray Hudson is not Scottish, right? So
no, I don't think he is.
No,
in hindsight, you're right.
He's English.
Yes.
English.
Okay. Goes to show. Yes. No, you're correct on that. But it sounds like something he would say.
I agree with garlic milkshake. Listen, I'm Lebanese and I can't understand a garlic milkshake. But yeah. Third tweet. and it's from CanWNT Armada. So I chose two tweets in the same screenshot. I think this goes without saying, but CF Montreal is very good, by far the best team in Canada, and their support of Canadian soccer and developing, growing Canadian players is commendable. I'm so happy to see the praises of CF Montreal regarding the development of Canadian players. I think that's something that's been overlooked quite a few times, not by us, but by the Canadian soccer scene. And I think it's important to underline that and underline the work that CF Montreal is doing with the youth. I don't know if you have anything more to add, Eve.
No, no. No, overall, I mean, numerically, yeah, they definitely are the best of the MLS teams this year. Absolutely. On paper, that's where it is, and yeah, they start a lot of Canadian players every match. And obviously, there are more players hopefully coming up the ranks at the academy.
Yeah, hopefully. Hey, did you see the lineup of the U17 of the academy? There was
Yes.
a Biello and a Saputo in it.
Yeah, I know.
Funny. Loved it.
Well, it's like we had Harvey Neville play for his dad, come out for his dad's team today. So there you go.
And you have Romeo Beckham playing for the reserve also. So the two of them play together. So it's a bit of difference between Neville and Beckham and Saputo and Biello.
No comments.
So let's move on with the fourth tweet. And it's from Claire Rustad. Of course, we all know her. Vian being in the right place at the right time is an innate, instinctive talent. It's not blind luck. Goals don't just happen around her. They happen because of her. It's a rare talent, and the CanWNT desperately needs it. Anything to add to that?
No, completely agree. Obviously, she wouldn't have, I don't think, the tally that she has in league play this season. And we know that striker's instinct is something that's so important when it comes to finishing. And, she just always seems to be in the right place at the right time. And if it happens that often, it can't be coincident.
Exactly. And hopefully, we'll see Beth Brisbane will see it a bit more and call her up every window, because, again, goals happen because of her, like Claire said. And of course, finally, so from Laura Bryan, the starting 11 I would like to see for the Canadian women's national team tomorrow against Morocco. D'Angelo, Becky, Rose, Buchanan, Saint Georges, Quinn, Grosso, Lacasse, Fleming, Awujo, Vian. What do you think about that, Eve?
I love that Jade Rose is there. I'm not gonna lie, on goalkeepers, I'm kind of like not 100% sure, which choices were the right choice, if it's Sabrina D'Angelo or Lyciane Prou. So I'm gonna leave that one to Bev. And honestly, for me, Simi Awujo has been so interesting that I would love to see what she could do with the start. I know that's really kind of similar, I think, to what you had proposed. But with Clarissa up front,
I would change it just a few players. Honestly, okay. I like the back. I would not change the back. I would put Quinn and Awujo in the midfield, and then I would play Lacasse, Fleming, Larisi, and Vian up front.
Okay, interesting.
Because I think that Awujo can play that center.
I think you're right. And when she came in, I think that's the role that she came in at back in Australia. Yeah, for Australia. But I agree that like I said, I definitely think a defensive midfielder needs to start tomorrow, and my preference is always for Quinn. So
exactly. So Quinn and Awujo in the midfield, and then up front, that's what I would like to see. But I you know what? I wouldn't be unhappy but if Laura's starting 11 is chosen, because I think that's also very interesting to see. I love Julia Grosso. I really love her. So that's also very interesting. So can't wait to see what Beth Friesman has in place for us, because it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice to watch that game against Morocco.
Yeah.
So that's it for me for social media.
Wonderful. So then in that case, before we wrap up, Hady, because it is Thanksgiving, I just want to ask you, what is one soccer thing that you are grateful for this year?
Wow. One soccer thing that I'm grateful for this year. You know what? You put me in a job. So, you know what? Start.
Okay, I'll start.
Let me think about it a bit.
Okay. The soccer thing that I'm grateful for this year is the fact that Montreal worked really hard to repair the relationship with fans and have done a really good job with it, in my opinion, so far. That is what I'm grateful for. I feel so much better going to matches this year.
I'm going to choose something that's not really
Oh,
specific
you choose whatever you
for
want.
for this year, especially.
Okay.
I'm just thankful to have a professional team in Montreal, a professional soccer team in Montreal. I know it's very easy to say, but I've been a fan for the game for a long, long time, and I moved in Montreal in 2001, and I've never lived in a city where that had a professional club that plays at an acceptable level.
Mm-hmm.
And being here in Montreal and having that team in MLS is amazing, because in a way it just satisfies my passion. It satisfies my thirst for professional soccer, and I love it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm very attached to this team. Being able to go week in, week out to Stade Saputo or to Olympic Stadium, being able to talk about it, being able to
Mm-hmm.
to work in it in a way, right? Being in press box and everything. That's something that I never thought would happen in my life, and I'm really thankful for that.
That's lovely. And I can see Robbie also has what he's thankful for this year in the footballing world, which is, of course, the qualification of the men's team to the World Cup. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are definitely all grateful for that one for sure.
Yes, we are, for sure, for sure. And it's going to be future is very exciting for Canadian fans.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very
Yep.
exciting. Men, women, the Canadian Premier League, the you know the fact that some clubs are really trying to push the women's game a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
We saw CF Montreal, placing their faith in Amy Walsh.
And Steph Labbe has taken on a similar role for the Whitecaps.
Exactly, for the Whitecap, exactly, and that's something that's very interesting. Also, I think we were lucky to be in a country that really promotes, is trying or is starting to promote that
Mm-hmm.
sport, and
Yep.
it's exciting, very exciting.
Yep. And it's about time. And with that being said, that does wrap up our episode for this evening. So thank you once again to everybody who sent in questions or comments or listened to live along with us and sent things that way. As always, of course, if you have questions or thoughts or feelings that you want us to chat about, hit us up anytime on Twitter during the week. And we will see you next Sunday to break down, hopefully, a Montreal playoff win. Happy Thanksgiving and have a wonderful week, listeners.